Hello, welcome to YOLO Crypto. Now, the old time saying still stands true. You need money to make money. But what the fuck do you do if you have no money? That is what I used to ask myself before I had the wealth that I have today, which I'm still trying to grow every day. In this video, I'm going to discuss what you should be doing if you have a small budget, small portfolio, or don't quite make that much money, okay? Let's get started. So, if you're like most people, then you will be somewhat skeptical of the cryptocurrency industry and how crypto will perform in the future. But regardless if you have a strong conviction or not so much conviction, let's assume that you have about $1,000 to invest. First thing I will say that is unless you need the money for an emergency, once you put the money into blockchain, then you should not take it out. Even if you sell an asset, then you should sell into a stable coin like USDC or Tether, okay? That way you have it there to invest into another digital asset at a later time. Okay, everybody should also have a Bitcoin bag that they are constantly accumulating Bitcoin with, and they never sell. Okay, because I'm telling you right now, in 10 years, there's only 200 million coins. Everybody's going to want some fucking Bitcoin. Okay, and that is a promise. So back to where we were. Let's assume that you have $1,000 to invest right now, and you grow your account by $100 a month or $25 a week. Okay, that's pretty reasonable. Someone who is skeptical about cryptocurrency, they still want to participate, and this is probably generally speaking like a younger person, younger than say 35. Okay, let's assume that you want to spend minimal time managing your portfolio. Okay, to start off, you want to choose your exchange, and I'll reference the United States because that's where I am. I'm in Massachusetts. Okay, now if you reside in the U.S., then I would recommend probably using Coinbase. Okay, simply because they're publicly traded, they're regulated, and Brian Armstrong, who is the CEO, he's on good terms with the president, and that is a good thing. Okay, the fees are going to be a little bit higher, but just the lower barrier to entry and the ease of use is going to be great for new retail investors, okay? So you open up your account and you deposit the initial $1,000. As you get more involved in crypto, you'll always need a fiat on-ramp, right? This is going to be the exchange where you actually take your US dollars and you put it into a cryptocurrency. You put it onto the blockchain, okay? So you're always going to need one of this. Most of the time, I use Coinbase, okay? And I'll also mention that Coinbase even offers a 4.5 annual percentage return on USDC, okay? This is their stable coin. So just that fact is a big reason to put your money into blockchain because the general rate for a CD from a bank, which is where you lock your money up for an extended period of time, is 4.5%, and that's it's a best case scenario, it's 4.5%, and that's for a 14-month period. Okay, if you're on Coinbase USDC, you don't have to lock it up for any amount of time. It might take a little bit of time to unstake it, but that's another story, and it's gonna be days, okay, at the most. So the first thing you're going to want to do, even after you put up your $1,000 onto the account, just get this out of the way, set up automatic deposits, okay? So you have $100 a month to put in. I would recommend doing $25 a week to try to take more advantage of the volatility. But even if you put on $100 at the end of the month, and you set up it so it's done automatically, that's going to be virtually the same thing. Okay, now next thing to be done is you need to pick which assets you're going to buy, right? We're trying to structure this portfolio, and I'm going to give you the lens that I'm structuring this portfolio to, the recommendations that I'm going to make, okay? So this is the viewpoint of someone who falls into the lower income strategy. So this person makes less than $48,500, or in other words, their household collectively earns less than $48,500, okay? So let's assume that this information or this portfolio is coming from someone who is generally comfortable, has housing, some savings, and they also have a higher risk tolerance than the average cryptocurrency investor, and that's generally where the younger crowd is going to fall. I mean, most crypto buyers are between the ages of 18 and 44, okay? That being said, what the hell do I buy? Now, the safest thing to do when structuring cryptocurrency portfolio would be to just buy Bitcoin, or another way to look at it would be to buy what everybody else is buying. So let me share some statistics with you, right? So 74% of people own Bitcoin, okay? 49% of people own Ethereum. These are crypto holders, obviously. 31% own Dogecoin. 18% own Solana. And 17% own a US dollar stablecoin. Now, the US dollar stablecoin is obviously not going to make you any money because it's pegged to the dollar, right? And the dollar is not going to move realistically. So now I definitely think that Bitcoin should be included in this portfolio. Bitcoin's going to offer stability. It's the store of value. And I know that everybody's going to want to own Bitcoin in 10 years. So the Bitcoin purchase you make now is going to be part of a greater Bitcoin strategy. Every person that's invested, and I tell this to everybody, every person that's invested in cryptocurrency should have a Bitcoin wallet or start buying and holding Bitcoin that they never plan to sell. Okay. Ideally, this should be a hardware or cold storage wallet. If you have 1,000 in Bitcoin, once you get to that point where you have 1,000 in just Bitcoin, you're definitely at the point where you want to buy a cold storage wallet. It's going to cost you less than $100. You get your actual seed phrase in your account, in your Bitcoin or your cryptos is stored on the blockchain. The ledger or the Trezor, which is what I use, is simply a portal to access it. So if you lose the device, as long as you have your seed phrase, you're good. And this is really a way to custody Bitcoin, which is almost the main point of cryptocurrency and why decentralization is such a big thing. Okay, that is something that absolutely has to be done at some point. And I say this and I strongly recommend this to everybody. So 30% is the recommended amount for Bitcoin for this portfolio. Remember the lens that I'm looking through. So 30% should be the minimum that everybody should have at the absolute lowest. Okay, I will say that I have more than 30%, about 50% of my cryptocurrency is in Bitcoin. Okay, so that's $300. I would also recommend buying Ethereum. Okay, 49% of people own Ethereum, right? So remember what we said in terms of the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. So these recommendations are keeping in mind the fact that crypto is expected to rise through this year, right? So the recommended amount of Ethereum is 15% or more. Okay, now Ethereum could easily do a 3x, and I think it will. It's roughly around 2,000 right now. Getting to 6,000 is not going to be that hard. Last cycle was around, I think, 4,000. So those two that I just covered are what you would consider the blue chips of crypto, right? If you in stock market they say like blue chip stocks, like Apple, like Microsoft, like Tesla, even. Those would be Bitcoin and Ethereum, all right? Next thing recommended for any meme tokens is we want something else with utility, right? And that's going to be Solana. Right now, Solana is about 50 or 60% below where it was just a few months ago, okay? So the recommended amount for Solana is about 15% or $150. Solana's got cheaper fees. It's faster. Sure, the network has had some slip-ups. They've gone down a couple times, but still a lot of people are into Solana, and that's why you've seen such a lag in Ethereum and because there's so many more coins out there for people to invest into, right? Now, it's up in the air which of those two will have the most utility in the future. And the top two, other than Bitcoin, are Ethereum, Solana. So having those two is important, okay? Now, as we get further down the portfolio, we get into some more risky projects and meme projects because most coins out there ultimately are going to be meme coins, okay? So some people are going to want to replace Ethan Solana with XRP or Ripple, okay? Ripple's not going to be included in this portfolio, okay? Say you have $1,100 and maybe you can use that extra 100 to buy Ripple, but I just feel like the market cap of XRP is higher and it might not grow as much as people think, okay? There's a big thing in cryptocurrency with advertising, right? XRP might not do shit, but they have great advertising. Everybody's talking to it, and that is why their market cap is so high. Okay. Now I would categorize the previous project as a must. Okay. The next ones are up for debate. So the next 40% is going to be projects that are much more risky than the previous ones. Remember the lens I'm looking through. This is a person who's a little more risky, or maybe a lot more risky than the general person. Okay, so next on the list for this profile is Dogecoin. Dogecoin is in the top 10, but Dogecoin is a 4x from all-time highs. Okay, and I think we'll be back there this year simply because of the huge following behind the project and the fact that Dogecoin is essentially the first meme coin, so it has that first mover advantage, right? The recommendation for Dogecoin is 20%, okay? But the minimum that I would suggest is 10%. I think everybody should have some Dogecoin simply because I think it's going to be around for a long, long time, and Elon likes Dogecoin, right? The next is going to be projects that are in the top 100 based on market cap, okay? And one that is outside the top 100. So we're going to have two in the top 100 and one that is outside. Okay, the thing about this is that the coin you choose outside the top 100 has the potential to do more upside than the whole other portfolio combined, okay? That's because we're going to be choosing something with such a small market cap that it can get many X's, okay, if it gets some traction. The next recommendation is Ondo Finance, okay? Ondo is offered on most centralized exchanges and is going to cater to institutions by bringing real-world assets to blockchain, and we know institutions have a lot of money. I just made a video on real-world assets. It's the next crypto revolution. You can take a look at that. Okay, I think Ondo is going to do big things. We know the institutions have a lot of money, right? Next thing that's recommended is Immutable X or IMX. Okay, this got big in 2021. It's a 15x from all-time highs, and it's more within the NFT realm. And I think NFTs are going to have a resurgence at some point. So I think that it's important to have a little bit of NFT exposure in terms of a cryptocurrency coin in this portfolio, right? So we only have 5% left, and this is where you want to have a little more fun by buying something that's way out there, okay? This project will have such a low market cap that 1,000x is definitely within the realm of possibility. The coin I choose is SuiPad, which will be 5%. Now, SuiPad has a market cap of under 1.5 million, okay? That's it. The reason that I choose this is because it has ties to the SUI cryptocurrency, Sui, which is growing, and SuiPad has a ton of room to grow. I mean, you could easily see a 10 or 20x out of this very easily. I'm sure we will. And that's the portfolio. Remember, this is not financial advice, but it is years of my knowledge and also a lot of AI research that I used to put this portfolio together. Let's go over the selections, right? So we have Bitcoin at 30%, Ethereum at 15%, Solana at 15%, Dogecoin is 20% or 10%, Ondo's 10%, Immutable X is 5%, and SuiPad is 5%. And you can really, I mean, there's almost 180 pages of coins on CoinGecko that you can choose from. A lot of them towards the end don't show the price. That's because they are so new. And just starting off, right? Now, if you compare this portfolio to someone with a very low risk tolerance, then they would be at 100% Bitcoin, okay? And that may turn out to be the best choice in 10 years. But we have a lot of room for projects to boom and bust before then, right? So thank you so much for watching, okay? If you like this video and you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to the channel. If you actually liked this video and you enjoy watching me on the screen, please hit the like button. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.